There is something profoundly human about the way Las Fierbinți portrays the contradictions of small-town life, where humor and melancholy exist side by side like two faces of the same coin. In the episode centered on Costinela, the series reaches a peak of emotional maturity that often goes unnoticed beneath the layers of rustic humor and ironic banter. At first glance, the story seems simple. A woman, Costinela, tries to assert her dignity in a community that judges more than it understands. Yet behind this simplicity lies a tapestry of subtle emotions, choices, and unspoken sorrows that reflect a universal struggle for self-respect and belonging. The episode opens with a familiar morning in Fierbinți. The dusty road, the old bar, the lazy rhythm of a place where time appears to have stopped, all create a space that feels both intimate and suffocating. Costinela walks through this environment with an expression that oscillates between defiance and vulnerability. The camera lingers on her face longer than usual, capturing the tiny shifts in her emotions as she hears the whispers behind her back. Her name has become a topic of gossip, a symbol of every woman in a conservative village who dares to live beyond the boundaries imposed by others. This introduction sets the tone for what will become a complex exploration of reputation and redemption. In one of the early scenes, Costinela visits the bar run by Bobița, who as always provides both comic relief and social commentary. Their dialogue feels like a dance of hidden meanings. Bobița teases her in his usual mocking tone, yet underneath there is a faint respect, perhaps even pity. The regulars watch their exchange with smirks, and the laughter that erupts afterward carries the uncomfortable weight of judgment disguised as humor. This is one of the show's great strengths. It uses comedy not to escape the truth, but to expose it. Costinela's quiet reaction, a half-smile that conceals pain, tells more than any line of dialogue could. In that instant, the viewer sees how ridicule becomes a tool of social control, how humor can both entertain and wound. As the story unfolds, the rhythm of the episode slows down, allowing space for reflection. We see Costinela in her small, cluttered house, speaking to her reflection in the mirror. This scene, stripped of dialogue and filled with silence, is a masterstroke. It is here that the audience understands her exhaustion, her longing for something beyond gossip and monotony. The set design plays an essential role in conveying this mood. The faded wallpaper, the dim light coming through the window, the sound of distant church bells, all elements that create a sense of decay and stasis. The mirror motif is significant too. It suggests not only self-examination, but also the idea that one's image, in a small community, is never truly one's own. Midway through the episode, the dynamic shifts. Gianni and Branzoi, two characters known for their comic absurdity, become catalysts in Costinela's story. They attempt to recruit her for one of their ill-fated schemes, something about selling homemade cosmetics or promoting an event at the bar. At first, she hesitates, aware that nothing good usually comes from their plans. But then she accepts, perhaps driven by boredom or by a faint hope that participation might redeem her in the eyes of others. This decision marks the turning point of the episode, both narratively and emotionally. The ensuing scenes balance comedy and sadness with precision. The sight of Costinela trying to advertise the products around the village, ignored or mocked by the people she grew up with, becomes a commentary on social invisibility. The show manages to make the viewer laugh and ache at the same time, a rare tonal achievement. The climax arrives unexpectedly during a town event organized at the bar, where Costinela, wearing a simple yet elegant dress, stands before a crowd of skeptical faces. She delivers a short, heartfelt speech about the meaning of dignity, about how a person's worth cannot be measured by gossip or past mistakes. The moment is uncharacteristically raw for Las Fierbinți, a show that usually avoids overt sentimentality. But here, the writers allow emotion to flow without restraint, and it works. The background noise fades. The camera focuses solely on her trembling hands and tearful eyes, and for a brief instant, the entire village seems to hold its breath. What follows is silence, not the mocking silence of disapproval, but a contemplative one. Even the most cynical characters seem moved. After the event, Costinela walks home alone under the dim streetlights. The scene mirrors the opening sequence, but the atmosphere has changed. There is a quiet sense of peace, as if she has reclaimed a part of herself that was lost. The final shot lingers on her back as she disappears into the night, the faint sound of laughter echoing in the distance. This ending refuses closure. It does not offer redemption or punishment, only a moment of fragile acceptance. That restraint is what gives the episode its emotional power. Beyond its narrative, Costinela, Partea Wai, serves as a reflection on small-town dynamics and the role of women within them. The series, often celebrated for its humor, here turns into a study of loneliness and resilience. Costinela embodies a type of character rarely given voice in popular television, the woman who lives in the shadow of other people's expectations, yet quietly resists them. Her story is not one of triumph, but of endurance. Watching her navigate the gossip, the laughter, and the condescension of her neighbors is to witness the quiet heroism of everyday survival. What makes this portrayal so effective is the way Las Fierbinți refuses to idealize its characters. No one is entirely good or bad. Bobița's cruelty is tinged with insecurity. Gianni's foolishness hides a longing for validation, and Costinela's defiance masks a fear of being forgotten. This complexity is what elevates the show beyond mere comedy. It becomes a mosaic of human imperfections, painted with empathy and irony. There are moments in the episode that feel almost cinematic. The interplay of light and shadow, the pacing of silence, the music that occasionally surfaces to underscore emotion, all contribute to a sense of realism. The direction avoids melodrama. Instead, it captures the slow rhythm of rural life, where change comes not through grand gestures, but through tiny acts of courage. From a thematic standpoint, Costinela, Partea Wai, is about reclaiming voice and identity. It questions how society defines worth and how individuals resist those definitions. It also touches on memory, how the past lingers in every glance and word, how people struggle to outgrow the labels assigned to them. This theme resonates universally, which explains why Las Fierbinți, despite being deeply rooted in Romanian culture, speaks to audiences far beyond its borders. Personally, watching this episode reminded me of my own encounters with small communities, where gossip functions as currency and laughter often hides insecurity. There is a scene in which Costinela stands by the fence, overhearing two neighbors discuss her. She doesn't interrupt them. She just listens, her expression calm but wounded. That moment captures an emotional truth that transcends culture. The pain of being misunderstood, of being reduced to a story told by others. It's an emotion everyone has felt at some point, and perhaps that is why this episode lingers in memory. If one looks closer, there is also an undercurrent of social critique running through the humor. The village's resistance to change, its obsession with appearances, its fear of difference, all mirror broader societal attitudes. Las Fierbinți achieves something rare. It uses laughter as a mirror, not a mask. In Costinela, Partea Piiai, the laughter feels uneasy, as though the characters, and by extension, the viewers, are being forced to confront their own prejudices. The final impression left by this episode is one of bittersweet recognition. We laugh, we empathize, and we feel slightly ashamed of our laughter. That emotional ambivalence is the hallmark of great storytelling. The world of Fierbinți, with its caricatures and absurdities, becomes a microcosm of the real world, where kindness and cruelty coexist, and where every act of mockery hides a trace of longing for connection. Costinela, Partea Ia, stands as one of the show's most poignant and quietly revolutionary installments. It turns a local tale into a universal reflection on dignity, solitude, and the small acts of rebellion that define human life. Watching it, one cannot help but feel that beneath its humor lies a profound compassion, a recognition that even in the most provincial of settings, the struggles of the heart remain vast and timeless.